Today I want to talk to you about masks. No, not the kind you wear at a costume party, but the metaphorical ones we all sport from time to time. You know what I mean, right? We all wear masks. Sometimes these are the masks that other people slap on us because they have specific ideas of who we should be. Or other times, we are the masterminds behind the masks we wear. And occasionally, these masks slip, revealing our true selves. And sometimes this might help us, but other times not so much. Remember the Occupy movement back in the 2010s? Those protesters wore masks, not just to dodge the cops, but also because it made them feel like heroes maybe on a mission. And this got me thinking, do we do the same? Are we trying to dodge God? Do we wear masks because we're scared to show ourselves to our friends, to ourselves even, and to God? So let's unpack all of this, getting behind the mask as it were, as we rewind and go back to the first book in the Bible, Genesis. And we find Adam and Eve chilling in their birthday suits without a care in the world. But then they eat that darn forbidden fruit and suddenly feel the need to cover up. And fast forward to today, and we're still hiding from God, others and ourselves, scared to show our true selves. Masks bring up all sorts of questions about who we are. What sort of an image does the mask project? What is hiding behind the mask? So let's get behind this business. So picture the scene of Jesus having a heart-to-heart with Peter. He asks Peter, "Who do people say I am?" People had all sorts of ideas. Some thought that Jesus was John the Baptist, back from the dead. Others thought he was a prophet of old, like Elijah or one of those legendary old-timers from the Old Testament. People have all sorts of ideas. Some thought Jesus was John the Baptist and back from the dead, while others thought he was the prophet Elijah, one of those legendary old-school prophets of old. They lived in revolutionary times, and people wanted to pin their revolutionary mask onto Jesus. But Jesus wasn't about that in life. Oh no. So he flips the script and asks Peter a question. Who do you say I am? Peter's got two answers. He's the Messiah, and he is the Son of God. Let's break this down. First, what does Peter mean by Messiah? To answer this question, we need to think like a first century Jew. Peter wasn't referring to Jesus in the way the Christians do, as the second member of the Trinity. That would come later. Like many of his kinsfolk, Peter saw the Messiah as God's anointed leader, a bit of a Che Guevara-style character, destined to lead Israel to freedom, a vision inspired by the prophet Elijah. So Peter was on board with popular opinion. But wait, there's more. Peter sees another face behind Jesus' mask. You are the Son of God, he says. Boom! Jesus' divine nature was shining through. Those close to him saw that he was different, which begs a question for us today. How do we see Jesus? Who do we say Jesus is? Now, for many of us, Jesus is a bit of a wild card. The way he loved people, the way he broke social norms, and the way he saw the person hiding behind the mask. Jesus was just too darn hot to handle. And he asks us, who do you say I am? Now, we've all got our masks and our secrets, but Jesus was dropping a hint about who he really was. He often said things like, I am the good shepherd, and I am the light of the world. Clues, people! Remember when Moses met God and dared to ask his name? I am who I am, God answered. The fullest expression of the love and being. So when Jesus says, I am, he's taking those words from the Old Testament, how God used to describe himself, and he's making them his own. He's giving a hint of his divine identity. But Jesus wasn't giving Peter the full reveal, but a sneak peek behind the mask. But he still provokes that question in us all. Who do you say I am? Peter was on the right track, declaring Jesus as the Son of God. And Jesus was thrilled. He praised Peter, saying, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven has. Now this is telling, because we don't unmask God. God reveals himself to us through the Holy Spirit and Jesus. And this divine disclosure changes us. And hopefully, instead of running away from God, fearful of how he might treat us, we start to relax in God's presence. In short, God is love. Now, I might be scared to show my true self, but in the company of pure love, I can't help but want to take my mask off. I won't be condemned. I can be forgiven. In the presence of God, who is pure love, I can find my true being. The Bible tells us that many people, ashamed of their pasts, found love when they met Jesus. So here's Peter standing in the presence of the fullest expression of love and being, starting to see behind Jesus' mask. But then the unexpected happens. Jesus says he must die on a cross. Peter, luxuriating in the presence of Jesus, understandably freaks out. God forbid this, Lord, he declares. And then Jesus does something unexpected. He calls the poor fellow satanic. What is going on here? What sort of Halloween mask is Jesus pinning on the guy? But more than pinning another mask on Peter, Jesus is actually removing the mask Peter's wearing, exposing his dark, self-serving side. In this gospel story, Peter obviously isn't a saint or a superman, but he comes across as a sort of everyman character. He represents us all. So when Jesus sees through Peter's mask, he sees through ours too, revealing our true nature. That cocktail of good and evil, generosity and conflict, saint and sinner. This is the human condition. Evil doesn't just come from outside sources, but it comes from our hearts. And that is what Jesus is exposing. So our story ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, with Peter feeling a bit ashamed of Jesus' tough love. But there's more. There is hope. We need to focus on divine matters, not on earthly ones. As Oscar Wilde famously said, we are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Grace aims to return us to a state of being where we can stand before God, forgiven and shameless. And for that, are we ready to come into the presence of pure love? To let our masks slip, to be honest about who we are, but to know that God offers complete encouragement, acceptance, and forgiveness. And in return, God doesn't offer us another mask to hide behind, but a new identity as his children, capable of changing the world in Jesus' name. This he offers to Peter and to us too. Will we take off our masks and embrace our new identities as beloved saints of God?